This is nesting territory, and we are right smack in the middle of it.
This is definitely of interest. I just really don't want to start leaping to any conclusions on it.
100%.
Have you ever wondered what drives someone to search for the unknown? To venture into the remote wilderness in pursuit of a creature that might not even exist? Mireya Mayor, the fearless explorer and renowned primatologist, is one of those rare individuals. Her life is a tale of triumph, tragedy, and relentless curiosity. A story that ultimately led her to the shadowy pursuit of Bigfoot on Expedition Bigfoot. A haunting encounter in the wilderness. Picture this, the dense woods, where the shadows grow long and every sound feels amplified. Mireya and her team are deep in the remote forests of the United States, tracking a mysterious heat signature. "Guys, what is that?" she whispers, her voice tinged with a mix of excitement and fear. As the signature grows larger, the team edges closer, capturing what could be the breakthrough they've been chasing. Could this be Bigfoot? Or just another false lead in a lifetime of chasing shadows? For Mireya, this wasn't just an expedition. It was a chance to redeem years of ridicule from the scientific community. A chance to finally silence the skeptics. A career rooted in the impossible. Mireya Mayor is no stranger to chasing what others would call impossible dreams.
Explore and going out there and venturing into these unknown remote lands.
The white sharks are out here patrolling around.
But I had a real passion for animals and the outdoors, and my house was basically a zoo.
Nicknamed the female Indiana Jones, she's tackled some of the wildest and most hostile environments on Earth. Places most of us only read about in magazines or see in movies. Long before setting out on her quest for Bigfoot, Mireya etched her name into the annals of science by discovering the world's smallest primate, the elusive mouse lemur. That groundbreaking find didn't just grab headlines, it cemented her status as a trailblazer and risk-taker, someone who refused to accept conventional wisdom at face value. Yet, here's a surprise twist. Mireya didn't grow up envisioning herself as a globe-trotting primatologist. In fact, she started out as a cheerleader at the University of Miami, majoring in anthropology and English. Talk about an unusual blend, right? But life had bigger plans for her than the sidelines. After completing her PhD at Stony Brook University in New York, where she studied everything from human evolution to primate behavior, she landed a role as a National Geographic correspondent.
Fulbright really did change my life in providing those resources and letting me go out there and just do what I wanted to do.
This blend of academic rigor, on-camera poise, and adventurous spirit would soon catapult her into the unlikeliest of missions, searching for a creature that almost everyone else had dismissed as pure legend. The turning point. So, how does a renowned primatologist, someone who's made a real impact on our understanding of animal life, end up hunting for Bigfoot? It all began with whispers that swirled around her research circles. She received emails, letters, and even late-night calls from earnest Bigfoot believers, each one hoping her expertise in analyzing footprints and environmental evidence could finally solve this centuries-old mystery. Naturally, Mireya was skeptical. Bigfoot, a creature so drenched in folklore that simply mentioning it could jeopardize one's scientific credibility. It felt like a leap too far, even for her. But then something shifted. The more she listened to these stories, accounts of oversized footprints in muddy clearings, strange howls echoing in remote valleys, the more she recognized echoes of her own primate studies. Could there be a grain of truth hidden beneath layers of myth? After all, discovering the mouse lemur required open-mindedness, venturing into rugged corners of the globe and refusing to take impossible for an answer. So why not apply that same mindset here? And what if Bigfoot wasn't just a tall tale, but an undiscovered primate waiting to be recognized? A team on the edge of discovery. Joining the Expedition Bigfoot team was no small decision for Mireya. After all, her reputation, as both a scholar and an explorer, was on the line. But this was more than just her story. It was a convergence of diverse minds uniting for a single mission. The cast of characters included survivalist Russell Accord, who thrives in conditions that would make most of us crumble. Researcher Ronnie LeBlanc, famed for capturing fascinating casts of massive footprints, and Bigfoot investigator Ryan RPG Golembeski, whose passion for the cryptid knew no bounds. Each teammate brought something invaluable to the table, forming a kind of scientific Avengers for cryptid hunting.
Guys, what is that? Please. What is that? I'm just gonna move a little bit away from it and come back to it. There it is. It's right on the water's edge, and the signature is getting bigger.
Mireya's background offered a new lens. She'd spent years studying the daily habits, vocal patterns, and social behaviors of primates in the wild. Could those same behavioral markers exist in a creature like Bigfoot? What if the techniques used to track elusive monkeys in Madagascar's dense jungles could also be applied to the forests of North America? Yet, every expedition brought them to the edge of uncertainty. What if all of it, the footprints, the odd vocalizations, the blurry videos, led to nothing but dead ends? What if they were putting their careers, and perhaps their sanity, on the line for a myth? The question gnawed at Mireya with every crunch of leaves underfoot, but the scientist in her believed that any chance of uncovering the truth was worth the risk. After all, she'd once proved the entire world wrong by finding a tiny, fuzzy primate that people thought would never be seen. So why couldn't she do it again? On a much larger, hairier scale. And so, Mireya pressed forward, balancing her natural skepticism with the bold curiosity that had guided her to every corner of the globe. Whether Bigfoot turned out to be flesh and blood or folklore, she was determined to follow the trail until it reached a definitive end. Because sometimes, it's not just about whether you find the answer, it's about having the courage to keep asking the question. The tragedy beneath the triumph. What many don't see is the personal cost of Mireya's relentless pursuit. Behind the camera and away from the accolades, her journey has been marked by sacrifices, time away from family, the strain of constantly defending her work, and the emotional toll of chasing something so elusive. Tragedy, too, has shaped her path. While the specifics remain private, Mireya has spoken about the challenges of balancing her scientific endeavors with the pressures of life.
To be an NFL cheerleader, you have to be incredibly committed and focused and hardworking, and you have to be in very good physical condition. And for the type of science that I do, you have to be incredibly committed and focused and in top physical condition.
For someone so deeply passionate about discovery, the weight of skepticism and self-doubt can be crushing. During one critical expedition, the team captured footage that left even Mireya stunned. A heat signature, eye shine, and unexplainable movements. It was all there. "Holy crap," she whispered. "There are no known primates here. This could be Bigfoot." But was it? The evidence was tantalizing yet inconclusive, leaving the world to wonder. Had Mireya Mayor and her team finally uncovered the truth? Or was this just another chapter in the endless mystery of Bigfoot? Whether or not Bigfoot is ever proven to exist, Mireya Mayor's story is about more than chasing a myth. It's about the unyielding human desire to explore, to question, and to believe in something bigger than ourselves. For Mireya, the search for Bigfoot isn't just a mission. It's a testament to the power of curiosity and the courage to embrace the unknown. So, the next time you find yourself doubting the existence of something extraordinary, remember Mireya Mayor. Because sometimes, the greatest discoveries aren't just about finding answers, they're about asking the right questions. Mireya's love and fascination with primates saw her undertake numerous trips to some of the most breathtaking forests around the globe. From the dense Amazon of South America to the lush greenery of Madagascar, her adventures were nothing short of exciting. But these journeys were far from ordinary. She wasn't just another traveler marveling at nature's beauty. Mireya was on a mission, one that many believed was impossible. She set out to locate some of the rarest primates known to humankind. Experts in the field warned her that finding these creatures was a futile endeavor, likening it to a wild goose chase. Yet Mireya proved that persistence and passion could defy even the harshest odds.
I feel very proud of having co-discovered the world's smallest primate. It's a little mouse lemur in Madagascar. It weighs less than 2 ounces. And more proud is that because of this discovery, I was able to approach the president and the prime minister of Madagascar, and they declared the area a national park.
The discovery of the elusive mouse lemur is a testament to her determination and belief in the impossible. A career shaped by curiosity. This unwavering passion for wildlife eventually led Mireya to a career as a wildlife correspondent. Over the course of more than 20 years, she honed her skills, venturing into uncharted territories to document the rarest and most elusive primates. Her approach was guided by a curious and open-minded skepticism, allowing evidence to shape her beliefs rather than preconceived notions. Mireya shared stories of her adventures, including instances when logic and skepticism were her guiding lights. For example, she recalled applying to the Madagascar program, aiming to study two critically endangered primates about which virtually nothing was known. The absence of photographs or detailed documentation didn't deter her. Instead, it fueled her resolve to uncover the truth. The search for Bigfoot, a logical approach. One of the most interesting chapters of Mireya's career involves her search for the legendary cryptid, Bigfoot. Despite skepticism and the lack of concrete evidence, Mireya approached this expedition with the same scientific rigor that defined her other pursuits. In one instance, she recounted a moment that profoundly shifted her perspective. While reviewing a video captured by a team member named Russell, she witnessed a creature unlike anything she had ever encountered.
Zach, that thing just stood up like you and I would just stand up. Look at that. Dude!
Standing upright on two legs, with movements that defied classification as a bear or any known animal, this sighting left her in awe. Mireya described the creature as an ape-like being, far removed from its supposed natural habitat. The encounter strengthened her resolve to bring evidence to light, not to confirm beliefs, but to challenge long-held assumptions, both her own and those of the scientific community. Collaboration and determination. Mireya valued collaboration as a key part of her expeditions. She relied on the expertise of her team to track elusive creatures and bring them into the spotlight. With advanced tools and techniques at their disposal, she believed it was only a matter of time before significant discoveries were made. To Mireya, the search for Bigfoot wasn't just about solving a mystery. It was about expanding the boundaries of knowledge and shedding light on what was once considered impossible, a structure shrouded in mystery. As the sun filtered through the dense canopy above, casting eerie patterns on the forest floor, Mireya and Bryce Johnson stood before the mysterious structure, their imaginations racing. While Bryce was quick to theorize its purpose, Mireya's scientific grounding kept her cautious, emphasizing the need for hard evidence. "Until we have solid proof," Mireya said, her voice calm but resolute, "this is just a peculiar arrangement of trees. We need to approach this with an open mind and rigorous scrutiny." Still, the structure's deliberate design was undeniable. The sheer size, the woven branches, and the decorative patterns were too complex for it to be a product of random natural forces. It was as if whoever or whatever constructed it wanted to send a message: the search for evidence. Determined to dig deeper, Mireya and Bryce moved in closer, scanning the ground for anything unusual. It was a silent patch of forest, no birds chirping, no twigs snapping, just the faint rustle of leaves in the wind.
This tree structure could not have been built by just anyone or anything. There's about a dozen logs, all weighing 150, 200 pounds, with this ornate ornamentation laid across the top. It would have taken a crew of men to put this thing together.
Bryce's gaze drifted to each knot and twisted branch, wondering aloud, could something have held on here, pulled bark off with its bare hands? With that, he knelt down and retrieved a swab kit from his pack. Together, they began combing through the structure with a methodical precision. Mireya had a practiced eye, noting where small bits of bark had been peeled back or removed entirely. She paused at one particularly smooth patch, tracing it gently with her fingertips. "This isn't a random break," she said quietly. "The bark is stripped clean, almost like it was whittled." Bryce, fueled by an almost childlike excitement, felt his heart race. If this is Bigfoot's doing, it shows intention, planning. The idea seemed to captivate him. What else could methodically strip bark like that? He added, already imagining some elusive creature working with a surprising level of dexterity. As the swabs were pressed into grooves and knots, Mireya carefully labeled each sample, sealing them in vials. Every scrape of the bark could hold traces of DNA, microscopic bits of hair, skin cells, or saliva. Maybe even something that would finally tilt the scales in their favor. A territorial marker? After a thorough inspection of the base, they turned their attention to the towering crisscross of branches above. It looked almost ceremonial, each log carefully wedged into place. "It's like leaving a flag," Bryce speculated. "But why here in the middle of nowhere? What makes this spot so special?"
So what are you saying? Like, you think this is some sort of...
A boundary marking. This is nesting territory, and we are right smack in the middle of it.
This is definitely of interest. I just really don't want to start leaping to any conclusions on it.
100%.
Mireya let the question hang in the air, her face thoughtful. "We've heard about similar structures in other remote areas," she allowed. "But we still don't know who or what built them. One piece of evidence isn't enough to connect the dots." She crossed her arms, scanning the horizon where the trees loomed like silent sentinels. "Correlation doesn't equal causation," she reminded him firmly. "We can't assume this was made by the same thing that built those other structures." Bryce took a step back, contemplating the sheer size of the creation. He had visions of a towering creature, weaving branches into a shelter, or even a warning. But Mireya's voice, steady and rational, kept him tethered. They had to be sure, the weight of discovery. As they stood beneath the massive tangle of branches, sunlight filtering in through the cracks, a sense of wonder and apprehension washed over them both. For Bryce, every new detail in this sprawling masterpiece was a potential breakthrough. Each piece of bark could be the key to proving Bigfoot existed. For Mireya, however, the structure symbolized how little they truly knew about the forest's hidden realms. "We're dealing with something," she murmured, "but we don't know what." Their mission was clear: analyze every shred of evidence, map out the structure's dimensions, and consult specialists who might offer fresh perspectives. Was this a bizarre man-made fort, an ancient ceremonial site, or the handiwork of an undiscovered primate? Standing there, they both felt the pressure build.
In isolation, these findings aren't incredibly significant. But when you start to find similar structures in multiple locations on multiple investigations, then you have to stop and ask yourself, are these in fact pieces of a much larger puzzle?
Bryce eager to confirm his theories, Mireya determined not to let excitement overshadow the need for solid proof. A stray hair sample, a single strand of DNA. It could change everything. Armed with their containers of bark scrapings and soil samples, they began packing up, all the while wondering what stories these silent trees would tell if they could speak. Would the lab results bring them closer to the truth? Or would they add yet another layer of mystery to a legend that refused to die? Only time, and perhaps the forest itself, would reveal the answer. The forest holds its secrets. As the expedition continued, the forest seemed to watch them, silent and cryptic. The strange structure remained a mystery, a puzzle waiting to be solved. For Mireya and Bryce, it was a symbol of the thrill and frustration of exploration, proof that the world still held mysteries that defied explanation. "Whatever built this," Mireya said as they packed up their gear, "it reminds us of one thing. There's still so much we don't understand about this planet, and that's what makes this work so exciting." With that, they left the structure behind, their minds filled with questions and possibilities. The forest, ever mysterious, kept its secrets. For now. Dr. Mireya Mayor's journey into the mysterious world of cryptid research with the Expedition Bigfoot team wasn't just a professional endeavor. It was deeply intertwined with her personal story. The tragedy that reshaped her life became the catalyst for her relentless pursuit of the unknown. Years before joining the team, Dr. Mayor had been a rising star in the scientific community.
I had undertaken a project that most people deemed impossible. There were scientists before me that had tried to go out and find and study these animals and had failed. And these animals, on the verge of extinction.
Her work in anthropology and conservation had earned her accolades, and she was widely recognized for her ability to approach complex topics with precision and an open mind. But life took a tragic turn when a personal loss shook her to the core. A loss that would later fuel her passion for uncovering mysteries. Losing someone close to her who had shared a deep interest in the unknown sparked her resolve to explore the unexplained. Joining the Expedition Bigfoot team provided Dr. Mayor with a unique opportunity, a blend of rigorous science and the thrill of chasing legends. For her, it was more than a search for Bigfoot. It was a quest to understand the boundaries of human knowledge and to push beyond them. The tree structure discovery was a perfect example of the team's dynamic and Dr. Mayor's skeptical yet hopeful approach. While Bryce Johnson marveled at the possibility of Bigfoot's involvement, Mireya's scientific instincts reminded her of the need for caution. Even as they found hair samples and sent them off for DNA analysis, she tempered her excitement with the knowledge that many such leads had resulted in dead ends. But when the DNA results came back, they changed everything. The revelation of both human and primate DNA in the samples was unprecedented. It suggested the existence of something entirely unique, an unknown hybrid or perhaps an undiscovered species that shared traits with both humans and chimpanzees. Dr. Mayor's cautious optimism turned into determined inquiry. This wasn't just about proving Bigfoot's existence anymore. It was about uncovering the truth behind these mysterious findings.
2 footprints in different areas, but we're not sure if they came from the same individual or 2 different ones. All right, let's compare these.
Wow.
We need to analyze these casts to make that determination, because if we know we have multiple individuals, that could vastly change our research strategy.
The discovery left more questions than answers. How could primate DNA appear in a region where no known primates lived? Could this be evidence of an entirely new branch of the evolutionary tree? Or was it proof of something even more extraordinary, something that had eluded discovery for centuries? For Dr. Mayor, the results validated her commitment to scientific rigor. Despite the shocking implications, she knew they couldn't jump to conclusions. She advocated for further testing and interdisciplinary collaboration to ensure their findings could withstand scrutiny. As the team prepared for their next expedition, they carried the weight of their discoveries with them. For Mireya, this wasn't just a scientific journey, it was a deeply personal mission. Her past had taught her the fragility of life and the importance of seeking truth, no matter how elusive. And so, with each new clue and each new challenge, she remained steadfast, knowing that the search for Bigfoot wasn't just about the creature. It was about uncovering the mysteries of the world and, in some ways, of herself. When Bryce got back to the vacant lumber site, his misgivings got more pronounced. Though he felt sure they weren't alone, the quiet seemed eerie. Though they hadn't noticed any obvious indicators of life, they were resolved to find whatever was buried there. Bryce couldn't get rid of the feeling they might have missed indicators of Bigfoot's existence, but just as they were ready to quit, a terrible sound emanated from the woods, a sound that would fundamentally alter all they knew about the woodland. It felt like something was walking toward them. The team was delighted with this find. Might this be the hint they had been looking for? They moved with more care, every sound around sounding louder in the still woodland. Many researchers will tell you they have heard tales of white lights and Bigfoot. Driven by the prospect of discovering something noteworthy, their search for the truth became more fervent. The thrill of the quest exceeded the clear hazards hiding in the dark woodland. With its aged trees murmuring secrets, the old woodland appeared to be watching them. Was the warmth left by anything commonplace, a little animal? The crew considered this while they kept their meticulous search in progress. The possibility to either validate or refute their hypotheses kept them going, even if they might be chasing shadows. The trip faced fresh challenges every day, but their will was unflinching. Aware that their discoveries may be greeted with mistrust, they spent weeks exploring the difficult terrain, noting and discussing every little item. Their attention was maintained on their study by the draw of the future. Full of unspoken tales, the forest appeared almost alive as it watched them put together little hints. Knowing that the truth might readily vanish, they investigated every avenue and left their queries unresolved in the stillness of the old forest. Their quest for clarification in this perplexing scenario turned out to be equally crucial as their hunt for the creature. The crew discovered 2 big nests buried among the tall fir trees and thick underbrush in the deep forests of Northern California.
But it looks like a hare.
Where are you seeing it?
All right over here. Check it out. Right?
Oh yeah, no.
Doesn't that look like a hare?
They first believed the hares discovered around these nests belonged to local wolves, but a closer examination revealed they were something different. Ronnie and Mireya are on their way outside on both sides of this lake. As it happens, they have split. Bryce said both of them had thermal imaging. Though fascinating, this wasn't conclusive evidence of Bigfoot's existence. They came upon a local who related some spooky tales as they dug more. Though no women were close, loggers had reportedly fled in terror upon hearing unusual screams resembling those of a lady. This terrifying narrative sharpened the team's will, and gave their search a fresh perspective. Their path then brought them to Prince of Wales Island in Alaska, a territory noted for its rough environment and regular Bigfoot reports. Here, the sightings were not only historical accounts. People continued to claim odd meetings. About 5 miles from their base, the team concentrated on a distant 60,000-acre area where these sightings were claimed to be more frequent. Local Native American stories suggest the area was home to powerful entities like Bigfoot by describing these creatures as supernatural and maybe deadly. While visiting a remote alpine lake close to Grey Mountain, thought to be a Bigfoot hideout, the team negotiated challenging courses and came into wild animals. While Russell and Bryce investigated the other side, maintaining contact from a safer distance, Ronnie and Mireya looked at the mountainside closest to their base. Equipped with new tools, including a drone converted from tracking pipeline leaks to smell out scents linked with Bigfoot, including skunk and decaying meat, the crew sought to find obvious evidence of the creature. But their findings sometimes undermined the Bigfoot mystique, raising more questions than answers and erasing the line between evidence from conjecture. But the more they dug, the more they came to see that skepticism and exhilaration were regular friends. Always straddling science and mythology, their path across the deep, misty forest was a mix of curiosity, old stories, and a little nervousness. Ronnie and Mireya got ready for the difficulties that nightfall over the woodland presented. While nearby, Russell found a river running toward the sea, a seemingly little but important detail. Ronnie and Mireya negotiated thick vegetation in the Alaskan wilderness. Above, a drone smelled odd things, including skunk, wet dog, rot, garbage, and sulfur. While Russell investigated what looked to be animal skin on a tree, Mireya tracked the early data of the drone. The trip presented major difficulties, including bad weather and bear threats that called for armed security. They came upon strange events like inverted trees and distant, Yeti-like beings. This was more than just a climb. It was a sophisticated operation using modern technology.
And 20 more people to cover the ground that we have. Now we have something that can take this search to the air, gliding through the night.
Including a gas-detecting drone that was negotiating Devil's Club thickets. Notwithstanding the long odds, the researchers saw every bit of evidence, from strange hairs to menacing screams, as essential hints toward the discovery of a new species. Viewing the trip as a test of their resilience and a confrontation with nature's harshness and their uncertainties, their determination stiffened against the difficult circumstances and growing questions. It was not only a search for Bigfoot. Every unusual incident, every sample they gathered, and every local narrative they came across shaped their knowledge of the place. Though equipment broke down or followed incorrect paths, they felt as though they were moving forward. They were creating a greater picture, attempting to link the known world with the unknown, not only following shadows. Searching desperately for Bigfoot in Alaska's frigid wilderness, Russell and Mireya looked out over the great white wilderness ahead, their breath showing in the frigid air as they traveled across the snowy terrain. Seeking Bigfoot, a creature that remained elusive, they had pursued stories and whispers into the wilds of Northern California and Alaska, battling perilous forests, climbing steep mountains and crossing far-off valleys. Russell stayed awake with his keen tracking ability, while Mireya resolved as usual and looked about for any movement. Driven by hope and will, they had pushed through difficult circumstances and demanding terrain. Solid evidence remained just out of grasp. Finding any visible tracks was difficult, given the snow-covered terrain and heavy canopy above. Their path carried on, the jungle seeming to close in all around them with long shadows from its lofty trees. The temperature plummeted even more as night descended over the Alaskan wilderness, and the crew gathered around a small fire while their breath created clouds in the frigid air. Their voices echoing into the darkness, they related tales of prior meetings. Every story stoked their imagination and strengthened their will, hence fueling their search. Every twig snap or rustle in the underbrush sent them thrills that enhanced their senses. Every spooky call of the night drew them into the future as though Bigfoot himself was calling them to explore his realm more. The crew took solace in their common goal, despite the horrific stories surrounding them. Joined by a goal that appeared to transcend the boundaries of reality, they had created a link stronger than any they had ever known. Closely gathered, they dreamed of what it would mean to meet Bigfoot, how it would alter their lives, their beliefs, and the very fabric of tradition. Surrounded by the black forest and flickering fires at that instant, They had an odd relationship with the outdoors. The ground seemed alive, breathing secrets and stories just begging to be discovered. Every team member realized their path was about finding oneself along the road as much as it was about proving Bigfoot existed. Driven by the idea of what lay deep in the forest, they got ready to leave at dawn with a fresh will. They would leave the following day with the sun rising behind them, lighting the road ahead, and so removing the shadows of doubt that had loomed over them. Bryce inhaled deeply, full of the clear, frigid Alaskan night air. Not only a backdrop for their search, the forest, with its whispering trees and secrets, was a necessary component of their path since it held the key to solving Bigfoot's riddle. New difficulties, fresh data, and maybe a glimpse into the core of the legend they had been searching for so long would accompany the dawn light. Every stride they made would be deliberate, guiding them toward the truth they were searching for from further into the wilderness. Driven by passion, bravery, and an unflinching belief that somewhere out there, the elusive monster awaited them. Wrapped in the very heart of the wild, the search went on. Every little sound or twig snap brought optimism, only to let them down minutes later. They came to see that the monster they were looking for might constantly remain just out of sight, buried under the dense forest and mounting darkness. They had to come to terms with the truth that locating Bigfoot was getting less likely as the light dropped. Their emphasis now turned to locating a safe spot for nighttime camping. Navigating over uncharted territory got more dangerous as the light faded, and the notion of spending the night in the forest, perhaps under observation by invisible life, was frightening. The evening reminded the squad exactly how vulnerable they actually were, despite all their meticulous preparation and the excitement from the day's quest. They really sought a safe place to set up camp, somewhere they could defend should necessary. Given the low likelihood of running across Bigfoot, their first concern became finding a secure area to relax. Russell and Mireya were starting to pay for their Bigfoot search. Once an exhilarating expedition, what had seemed like such was a tiresome trip across difficult terrain. They were mentally as much as physically tired. Their days began to appear to merge. Get up, hunt all day, come back empty-handed, then relax only to find it all over once more the following day. Their excitement at first was beginning to evaporate as the reality of their work sank in. They continued despite their increasing tiredness.
I am confident that an animal just came through here recently. I don't know what kind of animal it was, but it's possible that it was what I...
Deep down, they were motivated by a need to validate their ideas as much as by the promise of disproving the critics. Every odd discovery, like odd hair on bushes, set off protracted arguments and discussions, sometimes devoid of apparent solutions. Their trip into the bush was moving from proving Bigfoot's existence to confronting their expectations and the hard reality of the natural environment. Days went by, and their chances for a significant find shrank. Living in the outdoors was difficult enough without the growing uncertainty that Bigfoot might be a myth. Their days mixed excitement, disappointment, and introspection, since every clue generated more questions than solutions. Strong conditions, seclusion, and continuous disappointments tested their will but enhanced their bond and respect for nature's beauty and violence. As they searched, they realized how difficult their assignment was. Wide, apathetic vistas tested them physically and emotionally. They knew that the vast area would make it impossible to find, and they must handle it first. Other options are unavailable. They juggled hope with the harsh reality of being under the sky as their chances of seeing anything on foot decreased. They gradually shifted their focus. It became about the journey rather than Bigfoot's presence. They valued nature, the conversations sparked by every find, and the stories they told. Finding Bigfoot was overshadowed by the profound lessons on endurance, nature, and human limits. As night fell, Russell and Mireya found a space encircled by dense trees for wind and cold protection. It gave minimal nighttime cover, but not ideal. They stayed up looking for Bigfoot, but only heard rustling leaves and distant owl calls. They left their makeshift camp at dawn and walked into the forest. They were inspired by broken branches and traces that might lead them. Every new sign gave them hope and encouraged them. After Mireya fell over a log and wounded her ankle in the snow, they realized they were alone. Russell quickly made a splint and crutch from cotton strips and branches. Knowing their distance and difficulties getting help, under Russell's support, Mireya persevered through the cold and pain. Worse finds emerged deeper in the jungle. A discarded bone and strange hair clusters signaled danger. In a clearing, they smelled rot, and found the remnants of a beast ripped apart.
I mean, my gut's telling me this isn't done by a bear or a big cat or even wolves, man.
No.
I've come across
Blood and large bones smashed with incredible force, proof of a giant predator. Snow buried the spot during research, but they found 2 to 3 ribs. The size of this rib bone must be considered. Should it resemble an elk? The snow covered everything, creating a serene white scene after the severe commotion they had just seen. Silence lets them decide what to do. The joy of starting their adventure was overshadowed by the forest's danger. Every clue that had previously given them hope now seemed like a warning, dragging them more into the perilous woods. Still, they persisted, motivated by a mix of need and will. As they descended farther into the mystery buried in the stillness of the woods, every stride was tinged with both caution and inquiry. Notwithstanding all, Russell and Mireya's will simply got stronger. They tread gently over the difficult terrain, constantly on guard for any danger arising from the dense underbrush. With its deep shadows and unusual sounds, the forest appeared practically alive, as though it were following its every step. Bigfoot's relentless hunt across the merciless forest persisted. Their cautious approach helped them to gather the dispersed data, each piece contributing to an intriguing and frightening narrative. Their weight of what they could find grew heavier with every stride, a continual reminder that they were exploring the unknown, into the heart of a wilderness as merciless as it was free from human hands. Long stretches of uncomfortable silence, punctuated only by the crunch of their footsteps on the undergrowth and the sporadic, distant call of wildlife, defined their path into a pattern. Driven by a search as much about establishing their strength as it was about discovering the truth, they were far from the world they knew. Because they knew this would transform them, they kept going despite exhaustion. Though dangerous, the forest taught them resilience, nature's power, and their strengths and shortcomings. As they searched the forest for Bigfoot, they discovered themselves. Mireya's ankles stung with every snow step. They persisted despite the storm's slowness and waning hope. Russell knew they were going to get more darkness. Mireya, however, was more about the mountainous landscape that was 3 times the size of Texas. Bigfoot's mystique, more talked about than seen, kept them hopeful despite mounting possibilities. The crunch of snow under their feet mimicked their constant search for the wide, inhospitable world. Sleepy, a black figure came across the woods. Russell and Mireya waited, hopeful but uneasy. Was this another woodland inhabitant, or the elusive animal they were hunting? When the stranger left, snow footprints revealed what they might have found if they had come earlier. Every moment as dawn approached, they raised expectations for war. Their headlamps illuminated the dark woods as they whispered. Every rustle and movement caught their attention, knowing their patience would lead to the breakthrough they had waited for. Due to prospective revelations, their determination grew throughout the evening. As Mireya's voice faded, Russell was inundated with questions. Ronnie's voice broke the quiet before he could speak. Russell felt queasy, reporting strange tracks deeper into the woods. Could the object they sought to leave a trail? Was that a light trick or a shadow dancing with their minds? Step by step, they advanced. Their revelations caused tension. Puzzles drove Russell's mind to plan their future steps. They had to act fast, or the creature would retreat into the night. Odd tracks gave researchers hope of a huge finding, despite danger and uncertainty. Their resolve rose. Fear and excitement permeated the air as they prepared to explore the undiscovered jungle. Ronnie and Mireya organized groundwork, while Russell led from the monitoring station. Traveling strengthened their will. Ronnie and Mireya are separated and traveling both sides of the lake. Russell enthusiastically stated that both have thermals. Though convinced their goal was close by, their trip proved more than a Bigfoot search. It bonded them closely in their common quest against the perils of the outdoors by testing their endurance and fortitude. Called Expedition Bigfoot, their goal was a bold monument to human curiosity and the will to explore the unknown. They looked not only for indicators of the creature, but also for a closer relationship with nature as they negotiated the thick undergrowth. Every endeavor was a search for proof and a voyage of self-discovery that tested them psychologically as much as physically. Though occasionally uncertainty crept in, the team's dedication never changed. Their motivations combined scientific curiosity with a strong need to validate their ideas against the prospect that every fresh hint may lead them farther into a pointless hunt, following shadows they had generated personally. deeper they dug, and their dependence on one another grew. The difficult terrain and continuous challenges tried their abilities as well as their collaboration. Every find and moment of wonder deepened their relationship and equipped them to face any obstacle. Their goal changed gradually from chasing an elusive creature to realizing the wider consequences of their discoveries. Along with looking for evidence of Bigfoot, they were closely interacting with the ecology of the forest and learning from it straightforward. Their path reflected the conflict between raw, untamed wilderness and human inquiry. Every advance served as a survival, cohabitation, and fine line between fact and fiction lessons. Driven by the simple but significant human needs to know, to understand, and to prove that no horizon is too far off when pursued with relentless determination, they pressed on, each day becoming more tuned to the environment and to each other under rain and mud beneath canopies seldom touched by sunlight. Expedition Bigfoot's rigorous and demanding encounters fundamentally changed the expedition members. Though not in the manner one would have imagined, these interactions changed their viewpoint on the world and unexpectedly increased their respect for the natural surroundings. Thanks for exploring this incredible journey into the mystery of Bigfoot. If you found this evidence fascinating, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more thrilling discoveries. Stay curious, everyone.